So what is a WAAC? Good question. A WAAC is, WAAC stands for the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps. In May of 1941, Representative Edith Norse Rogers introduced a bill to create a women's army. Rogers had actually served with Britain's Auxiliary Territorial Service in 1917 during World War I and saw what women could do to help win wars. And she felt that women's power, what was called women's power at the time, should be harnessed for the impending war that kind of everybody knew was coming, even though Pearl Harbor had not yet happened. Keep in mind, in 1941, Europe is already at war, and so Americans at the time were harnessing all their resources. President Roosevelt had passed the Selective Service and Training Act, was the first peacetime conscription. So the whole country was kind of gearing up for a possible war. And Edith Norse Rogers felt that women should be included in this effort. But Rogers' bill really didn't go anywhere. It was kind of laughed out of Congress. So after Pearl Harbor, everything changed and the bill was actually passed. The bill was actually passed May 14th in 1942. And so it created a women's army. It was the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps. Their objective was to have women take over non-combat roles within the army so that it could, what they called, release a man for combat. In fact, there was a big press push with that slogan, release a man for combat. It got a lot of jokes. The whole thing was basically kind of seen as a joke, to be honest, by most of the American public. That would change over time as the women that joined the WAAC proved themselves really capable soldiers and a vital part of the war effort. So what did these women do? They did all of the non-combat jobs that the army, that it takes to make an army run. So they were typists, translators, code breakers, they were drivers, they were, they did mechanics, they worked on tanks and trucks, and they were pilots, they did so many things. It would take me forever to go through everything that they did. And my book, Murder in the Ranks, is based on a real company called the 149th Post Headquarters Company that was the first WAAC company stationed in a combat theater. Before the 149th Post Headquarters Company went to North Africa, there were other WAACs that were stationed in the UK, and that's a whole other interesting side of the WAACs. There was also I know some people have heard about the 6888, which was the African American force that was sent to the UK, I think that was later in 1944. Anyway, there's so many stories about the WAACs that I would love to tell, but theirs is a long forgotten story, and a lot of these women were just kind of unsung heroes of World War II. They did so many things to help the war effort, and nobody really knows about them. So that's why I write about them, because I find them so inspiring and courageous, and without the WAAC, there would be no women in the services today. I mean, these were the pioneers of American female soldiers. So that's what the WAAC is. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, put it in the comments, because there's so much more to their story.